Once again, this is Andreas Lübering speaking from PatentSight's. A warm welcome to all the participants to our 10th user webinar now. It's actually an anniversary this time. So yeah, this time we are going to present you something really special. Our new technologies clusters will give you a hands-on demonstration on this new feature. Maybe before we start, some organizational points. As always, the webinar is going to be recorded, and we will provide you with a follow-up of the webinar. We'll provide you with a link to the recording and also a handout of the slides. Also, as always, you know this, there's a question section where you can ask questions during the webinar. We just collect them until the end and see how many questions or what kind of questions we have, and then answer them at the end in a small Q&A session. And this time we will also have a survey at the end of the webinar, just 3 questions, mainly targeting the question what you as our users would be interested in the next webinars, so we can align this with our users' needs. All right, now we can get it started. Maybe as a first step, the presenters for today. Dirk already switched the slides. I know it's not the nicest way, but I already am talking. So I start with myself. My name is Andreas Lübering, Senior Customer Success Manager at PatentSight. My main responsibility is keeping you as the users successful with our software, and these webinars are one part of this. I'm supported, or basically the reminder of this webinar will be conducted by Dr. Dirk Kaspari. He's a senior consultant at PatentSight. Dirk is part of the customer success managed team as a consultant since the beginning of 2020. Has an academic background in chemistry, where he had a focus on physical chemistry of solids, which led him to work for 5 years in the semiconductor industry. So yeah, strong knowledge base here. And more than a decade, he worked as a senior process analyst and IP consultant before joining PatentSight. And with this, I would hand over to Dirk, who will do the reminder of this presentation of the technology clusters.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you as well. This is Dirk Kaspari speaking, and I'm really excited to show you a hands-on demonstration on our technology clusters. So first, before we start going into the BI, showing you the hands-on demonstration, I would like to show you a few things. The first one is why to cluster patents by technologies. And there's a very striking one. Patent classifications, as we know them, like the IPC or the CPC, can be incomplete or inconsistent. And as you will know, also one patent has more than one classification, which makes it sometimes difficult to group patents by classification alone. And if we come up with a smart way to, as we did, to cluster patents, it is the opportunity to ease the analysis of large or diverse portfolios. And we have a complementary approach to compare portfolios with each other. And it can also significantly accelerate patent searches. So if you look at this, and you will see it in the live demonstration, that patent technology clusters can improve the workflow and performance in various portfolio analysis use cases, and thus shorten the turnaround times and reduce costs as well. So the first question most of you will ask is, how are the technology clusters built in the PatentSight's BI? So we start off with the patents, and we sort them into 135 IPC-based technology fields, or just in short, technology fields, as we say. These are based on the subclasses of the IPC classification system. The reason why we do so is The classifications, the technology fields provide a context for all the wording in the patents. As you will know from day-to-day work, the same word may have different meanings in different contexts. For example, if you consider the word stress, it will surely have a different meaning in mechanical engineering or maybe in pharmaceutical context. So where we start off is that we use a machine learning engine to recognize words in its semantic context. And we do this for each of the 135 technology fields. Once we have trained our machine, we use the trained machine to build a model for the patent wording in each technology field so that the machine can recognize which technology field is associated with which word meaning. So what is commonly known as the semantic context. And once we have that, we start clustering patents, and we cluster all patents. And this is done on the text base, and we consider the full text of the patents, and we do it in each of the 135 technology fields. And later in the presentation, I will refer to these clusters as clusters at the level 4, which is the most detailed level we provide. Then to get a more granular organization of the classes, we get into each of the technology fields again. And now we have an automated aggregation of our patent classes, which we just generated at the level 4. The next level, which we refer as the level 2, they are defined by the technology fields, which means that the clusters in level 3, they belong all to one of the 135 technology fields, so that we have those as our second level. On top of that, we manually grouped all the clusters at level 2. We were looking into it, grouping them to have an even more granular, very high level view on the patterns. And this is what we call clusters at level 1. Once we have clustered the patterns, we need some information about what is in the cluster. And therefore, we use an automated labeling system we built. And this system is labeling the clusters at the levels 3 and at level 4 so that the user can have an idea what these patterns are about in a given cluster. To give you more a visual representation how we cluster, I would like to show you this table. So what you see is on the left-hand side, the 4 levels. As you can see, the level 4 is the deepest level where we have clusters of individual patterns. And we had recently more than 73,000 clusters at this level, which is a very high number, but it is well organized, so don't be afraid of the numbers. Then, as I said, we use at the level 3 an automated way to aggregate the patent clusters at level 4. So for example, in this example, on the left side, we see these 3 level 4 clusters are grouped together to give one cluster at level 3. In the middle, we have 2, and on the right-hand side, we have 5 level 4 clusters, which are grouped into one level 3 cluster. As said, this is aggregated in an automated fashion, and we have about 6,000 clusters at level 3. At the next level, at cluster level 2, we have the 135 technology fields. And in my example here on the right-hand side, you can see that the left 2 clusters of level 3 are combined in one technology field at level 2, a cluster level 2. And on the right-hand side, we have with this one level 3 clusters becoming one level 2 cluster, and at the highest level with only 13 clusters, we have the manually combined 135 technology fields. So what you see here as an example is only a sample of what we really have. So we have 13 of this level 1 clusters, 135 technology fields, and so on. Once you get this presentation, I would like to have you a step-by-step guide where you can find the technology clusters as a search field. And this is, as you enter into the business intelligence, into the BI, you can see the More button in this search area. So what you do is you click on More, it opens up, then you search your filter element. It's on the left-hand side, you select technology. If you select technology, you will find your common filters, and in the advanced section here, you can see the technology clusters. This is where you find them. If you click on them, a window will open, and this is where you can select from our clusters. So what you see here is the 13 top level 1 clusters we had. Those were the manually merged level 2 clusters, the technology fields. And on the right-hand side, you can see the amount of patents in these clusters. I would like to go down into this window a little bit deeper. So as I just said, at the level 1, we have these 13. You can select at this level. I would like to see all the patents which are in the information cluster at level 1, or what you can do is you can click on the little arrow. So the menu opens and you see now all the entries of level 2. You can say that you would like to have, for example, computation at level 2 as the technology cluster you're interested in. And you can drill further down, level 3. You can say, I'm interested in software development. You can browse. As you are used from the BI, you also can enter your search terms and enter just software development to get to this position. And eventually we reach the 4th level, which is the most detailed level, and you can select them, which you would like to have as a filter. But I would like to point out one little detail which is very important here. So I said earlier that we label our clusters at the deepest and second deepest level, so level 4 and 3. And what we get is one label, a name describing the content of the patents in this cluster. And it's important to see if you, for example, if you take the second row, which is called API call, this is one label to label the patents in this cluster. Sometimes it is not obvious to the user right away what the content could be. So we provide synonyms, which are the terms given here in the brackets and separated by the commas. So API call, a synonym for the content of patents in this cluster would be application programming, programming interface, and there are more to see. And as you will know, at the bottom right, you can open up the window and see more of the synonyms. And this is the point where I would like to jump into the BI to give you really the hands-on demonstration for this awesome new feature. So first, I would like to start with one little detail where we just left off the presentation. So I will start to select an owner. My example for today will be Microsoft. So I enter Microsoft, it is pulled up here, I confirm it and update. So, and I would like to look into a technology cluster. So as I just said, I have to click on more. Then I go down to the technology, I select technology as a filter element, and here in the advanced section, we see the technology cluster again, and here are all my top level, the 13 clusters at level 1. I open this window that we can see a little bit more, and I'm interested today at this point in patents which are in the information cluster. What I do, I confirm here with the checkbox, I update. And then I would like to insert a table. So we said, I would like to see technology clusters now as a grouping. So as you know, vertical grouping, you edit, the window opens, and it's again the same path. You go down to technology, and then you will find technology clusters. And you can see different levels. So you can level 1, the 13, the technology fields, it's level 2, level 3, and level 4. And I would like to start today with level 1 here. And I say I just want to have the title, which is the first one. And to show you a little bit more, I would like to also to select the level 2, the level 3, and the level 4. And I would like to add on the right a measure, and here we can say it's probably the portfolio size for demonstration purpose. So what you will recognize here in the table, I open up this a little bit that you can read it, that we see really information, computation, software development, function objects, for example, in the first row. If you work with technology clusters, sometimes you don't want to have all the levels at the same time. However, if you see query revision or function object, just the label at the level field, it might be a little bit difficult to understand where in the technology clusters you actually are. And therefore, we have an alternative way to select technology clusters as the groupings. So to show you this, I am going to enter a table again. And this time I select technology again. This is the same technology clusters, but this time I stay right away with level 4. And instead of title only, I select the option path and title. I confirm it. And here I also would add just the portfolio size as a measure. And I pull it down that you can see it a little bit better. I open up, and what you see now is that we have only the technology cluster at level 4, but we selected title and path, so we see also the labeling of the parent clusters, which is very often helpful to go quickly to your results. As you know, for example, function objects belongs to software development, belonging to computation, and it is in the information cluster at level 1. So I said I wanted to look at Microsoft today, so I will insert a second table now. This time we say I would like to see the owner. I added to the grouping, and I want also to add the technology and the technology clusters again. And this time I will say I just want to see technology cluster level 1, and path and title or title only is at level 1 is the same. Then we can add a measure. I select the portfolio size. And as you can see, you get very, very quickly an overview in which technology areas Microsoft is operating. So you can see they have about 21,000 patents in the information cluster, about almost 6,000 in the telecommunication, and everything else is dropping off. And if you're looking at the last row, you see agriculture, and this is very, very surprising, and it's kind of, to me, an outlier. And we looked into this, and it was interesting what we found. Actually, within, you have seen how long it took to build this table. So with less than 5 minutes, we could find a patent which was wrongly reassigned by the USPTO, which we reported to them. We could follow this patent, one of the patents which is in the agriculture cluster, it has a wrong application number in the reassignment. And the second patent is actually related to agriculture. So these are absolute numbers. And if sometimes you want to see, okay, what is the share of this technology cluster for my company? So we can go back to the table and we can add a measure. So, and here we can say that the share in total size of owner, which is here, we confirm it again. And here we see immediately that almost 3/4 of the Microsoft patents are in the information technology cluster, 20% telecommunication, and the rest is very, very small. Sometimes you also want to see how this technology clusters have evolved over time. So what we can do is we can insert a chart. I just pull it down that it's easier to see, and we would like to see a line chart. And on the y-axis, we want to see, to keep it consistent, we want to look at the portfolio size. But at the lines, we don't want to see the owners. Here, we want to see the technology clusters again. So we click on more, and you will know the path. It is technology again, technology clusters. And we are looking currently at level 1, so we keep it this way, confirm it, wait a little moment, and extend the timeline to the last 20 years. And you see how the Microsoft portfolio has evolved over time in the technology clusters. It is no surprise, information and telecommunication are the dominant areas. But you can see you very, very quickly can use the technology clusters to get a very quick overview which part of a portfolio is belonging to which technology cluster and how are the clusters in the portfolio changing over time. Also, as you will expect, you can use the technologies for charts which you already know. For example, our quality versus quantity chart, we can enter it by using it as a template. And again, as you will know by now, so we don't want to show the owner. Again, we switch, we select the technology clusters, we leave it this way, and we update. And now you see what I did. I had already selected information. So my technology cluster in the chart is not the one we want to see because we have already selected the dominant technology cluster of the Microsoft portfolio. So you can change that easily. If you have selected the wrong technology cluster, you go back, you go into the technology again, technology clusters, and then you want to say, okay, I want to see the clusters which are below the information cluster. And here you can see it. And here we see again the path, so we know it's all under information. If you don't like it, again, you can very easily change it back. You go back to more technology clusters, and you say, I just want to see the title. And it becomes a little bit easier to read. So in the next step, I want to see, okay, Microsoft has quite some amounts of patents in certain areas. So I would like to drill down, and I would like to know, where did Microsoft become recently more active? So we start on the left-hand side with the visual search area. We say we want to have Microsoft as the owner, and I already prepared it. I would like to go into the computation cluster. And if I hover over, you can see that you get the information where you are. It's the path again. So we are in information and level 2 cluster, which is computation. So we can insert a table again, sorry. And we want to see the owner is Microsoft. And I would like to see also the technology clusters, this time level 3. I would like to know where I come from. So I select path and title. I confirm it. And as the measures, I would like to see the portfolio size and the share. In total portfolio size of my owner, I confirm it. And here I get my table and get the static overview for as of today. I would like to combine this now with a chart, and I would like to pull it down. And again, this time I would like to see a line chart. My lines, as I have one owner and I'm interested in the technology, as you will guess, again, I select technology clusters. I select my level 3. At this time, I say the title only. I confirm it. I wait a short moment, pull it up and increase the timeline to get a broader view in time. And what I would also like to do, as we are currently looking at the portfolio size, I switch the sorting of my clusters from patent asset index to portfolio size. And I get my view in which clusters at level 3 means in the computation area, how active has Microsoft been over the last 20 years. And what you can see here is that for the early 2000s, there was an increase. Sorry, I just forgot to switch also on my y-axis to switch from patent asset index to portfolio size to be consistent with the sorting of my technology clusters. And here it is a little bit more striking that Microsoft became in the early 2000s and mid 2000s very, very active in several areas. And as you're used from our BI, you can now walk through technology cluster block by technology cluster block, how active they were. You can open it. And again, for the next 10, it is also, there's hardly a development in recent years. So we can have to keep on searching. And here also taking off early 2000s, no recent activities. And here we see something happening. And this is this position indicator. And there is some increased activity in the last years. And for me, position indicator, I don't really know just by the word what this could mean. So I have the way to just to go back into my technology clusters. I can say, okay, I would like to go in information, into computation, and I can scroll down. Position indicator, here we are. So I open it. So keep now in mind, position indicator itself is at level 3. So I open up and I see all the level 4 clusters, which are belonging to my position indicator. And I can start reading the labels and in particular the synonyms. And if I read it, I see touch screens or screens which are capable to be used with a pen or a stylus. And so position indicator is using a device on a screen and to locate it. So it is very, very handy to look at the synonyms to get a much better understanding of the patterns which are in there. For example, touch sensing, touch point, touch pen, optical touch. So they are going all into this direction. So my conclusion is, without even looking into the patterns one by one, these are most likely about touch screens or screens to be used with a stylus. And we can go a little bit further, one more. And then we see even more recent as an example that Microsoft became more active for machine learning. So what you can see here is you can flip through the technology clusters of a given portfolio, and you can very easily see where the big shares of patents within a portfolio are. This is very easily to see here, and in a line chart, plotting it over time, for example, the portfolio size, you can see when did activity happened in time. So these were all representations which you were aware already from our BI. So, but we came up with a much more innovative way to show the technology clusters. And again, I stick with Microsoft as my example, and we can select now in the analysis templates. You can go to charts. We just have started rolling out this feature for our customers. So, and we will see here the Sunburst chart. I click on it and it opens up. And we see all the technology clusters of Microsoft in one chart. So what you see is you see 4 rings. There's an inner, second, third, and fourth. And as you will guess, these are the 4 technology cluster levels we have. And this fits, as we already know, that information is a big cluster in level 1 together with telecommunication. And as you very often have a large number of clusters at one level, we have introduced this triangle. So for the very small ones, we don't show them right in the beginning. But if you click on it, you can open it. And as you can see, there are just very few. So 2-digit number of patterns. And we can close it again. And you get context information. If you hover with your mouse over information, for example, we see the name in the center of the Sunburst chart showing the number of patent families and the share in this cluster level. So 72.5% of all patent families from Microsoft are in this information cluster. So we can add it up now with telecommunications. So we are at 92.5 and then another 3.5. So you can see one ring, the full ring represents 100%. And I would like to compare this to the IPC classification here to show you the value of the technology clusters. So what I do, I select my widget, I copy it, as you can see, and I paste it in with Control-C, Control-V, and we get the same plot again. But this time, I click on the gear symbol to change my Sunburst chart. And as you see by default, you will see the slices are our technology clusters. The slice size is the portfolio size. You can see the technology levels, so the cluster levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can select the level of details. But what I'd like to do here is I would like to switch to the IPC classification. And I close this here. And to make it more visible, I close the search area. If I look at this, we are looking here at the same portfolio. And just to be clear, IPC, I would like to edit here. Technology clusters. If you hover over with your mouse over the first ring, computing, calculating, counting, we see that this is already accounting for 85% of this cluster technology level. And if I hover over the next one, we see 37.5. And if you do the math, this is already beyond 100%. How is this possible? This is the overlap, which I mentioned earlier, that one single patent belongs to more than one classification. And our system also alerts you about the overlap with the little information down here. So you don't know how many patents belong to which cluster because you have the overlap. So this is very, very good to have the technology clusters, only one cluster for one patent. And I just have to change this. So going in, we can, I would like to remove the IPC again. So as I said, you can open up, but for example, if you would like to see images, this is something you're interested. What is Microsoft doing with images? So patents related to this topic. I would like to know what is in here. So what you can do is you just easily double click on it and it opens up. So you see only this piece of the slice and you can easily read now what is going on beyond images. So you can move very, very quickly through your portfolio. If you double click again, you will close it. If you want to say, I would like to see communications, you can get in. And if you're interested in data communication, for example, as you know from the BI and other use cases, you can click on it and you can get your context information. And as you already can see, you can add this obviously also to the search. You can drill down into another analysis using only the patents which are in this cluster. And you can also go to the list of patents. So I will close this again. And go to the next. I would like to show you some more features. So I add again the chart, scroll down a little bit, the Sunburst chart, and here it is again. So sometimes you just don't want to see only the number of patent families belonging to a cluster. So what we can do, I copied this Sunburst chart with Control-C again, and I paste it with Control-V. And as I have shown before, I would like to have it sized by the quality with using the patent asset index. It takes a moment. And now you can see, if you hover over, you see the same slice is selected in both Sunburst charts. So here we have the portfolio size. And on the other side, oops. We have the patent asset index. And you can move around and see where you are. So for example, here I have selected storage. And we see on the left-hand side the portfolio size and on the right-hand side the respective information for the patent asset index. So if I'm interested now in the images area and I really want to drill down, I can click on it. And as I just said, you can add it to search. This is one way of adding it to your query, or you just click on it, keep the mouse button down, you pull it over, you drop it into the query, and you can add the technology cluster to your search, and you update your chart. And as we have edited images, so the second ring here to our query, obviously 100% of cluster level 1 is information, 100% of cluster level 2 is images. So what you can do is select with the tag clusters, you can move it down to the level 3 and 4. And you see only the level 3 and level 4 for more details. So sometimes you would like to highlight an area, so you can also click on the inner slice and you can change the color. If you, for example, also want to highlight that, let's select something which is close to a yellow, and you see also this slice has changed its color. At the end, I would like to show also something going to more companies. So if I want to see more than one company, I can start searching just by technology clusters. So for example, if I say I'm interested again in information to stay with the same in the same area, computation, we have seen machine learning earlier as being one of the topics. Microsoft has been more active in recent years, and I can select the entire cluster of machine learning, and we see there are 10,856 patents in there. And I updated. I want to know, okay, who are the main owners in this area? And it's very, very easy to find out. You add a table, you add your owner, and you add your technology cluster, and you say, I want to see it at level 3, this time with path and title, because we select only one. And as a measure, again, you add the portfolio size and share of total portfolio size, confirm it, we close the window, and then we have, with a few clicks, an overview about the area of machine learning. And if we are now looking for Microsoft number 13, well, we just look at the portfolio size. If you want to look at the strengths, you can add the patent asset index again, and the share of the patent asset index here, just add it as you used it from the BI. We change the sort order. And now if we look at the machine learning technology cluster, we can see that the ranking has changed and Microsoft all of a sudden popped up at number 3. And what you can read here now is, so here we are in the machine learning technology. Microsoft has 83 patents. These 83 patents are only 0.3% of Microsoft's portfolio. But in terms of patent asset index, we have a 266, which is already a 0.4% of the total patent asset index here. And I think I picked the wrong one. Apologies for that. I have selected the wrong measure. So now you can see it. Again, apologies for this. So Microsoft with the accounts for 3.1% of the patent asset index in the machine learning technology cluster. And at the end, a very quick overview if you want to see how your companies are differing here. So what we can do is we can just copy our query, we paste it here, and we add a chart. This time we are selecting a matrix chart, and we are using on the x-axis, we will select again our technology clusters. We stick with level 3. I would say for showing it is just the title now. And sorry, it has to be 4. and we can add the numbers and say we first are interested in the portfolio size. And with a few clicks, you get an overview about the different patent owners in the machine learning area, and you see in which technology areas. So here at the top, we have cluster level 4 patent clusters. So we can see who is active where. And for example, what I see at the first sight, I see Alphabet and Samsung, for example, here they're overlining, whereas these owners here are more in convolutional neural networks, training sample. And again, keep in mind, if you're not clear what this exactly means, you can always go into the technology clusters to see the synonyms. And this is what I would like to have liked to share with you today, our new technology clusters feature, which gives you very fast access to information. You can see about the content of the patents. You can use it for searching, for comparison, for drilling down to learn about companies or portfolios in a very effective and fast and clean way. Thank you.
Yes, great. Thanks a lot for this really nice presentation. I have two questions. Maybe the first one, because we just talked about it, if we can clarify a little bit the difference between the share-in measures. So Dirk, if you can go one slide back. And maybe expand the header of the last column.
Yes.
So we have everything there. So the 7.9%. This is the share of patents Alphabet owns in relation to all patent or the entire patent asset index in this technology cluster. So while our share in total portfolio size, which you have here in the fourth column, is rather an indicator how committed a company is to a certain technology field. The share of patent asset index measure of technology cluster, or share of patent cluster of technology clusters, is rather an indicator how strong a company is in the field, how much of the patent asset index in a technology cluster is owned. So it reference to a different basis. On the one hand side, it's the entire portfolio of an owner. On the other hand side, it's the entire portfolio patent asset index of a technology cluster. This was one question. The other, just to clarify this, the other question was how do we deal with overlaps in the technology clusters? Simple answer to this, there's no overlaps in the technology cluster. So all patents, they are assigned to exactly one cluster on each level. So no overlaps, and a patent is always assigned to the cluster it suits best to. So the most suitable cluster is the cluster in which a patent will be assigned to. So no overlaps here. These were the only questions. Nevertheless, if there are more questions coming up afterwards, I guess there will be using these technology clusters and working with them. Please feel free to reach to your customer success manager later on. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your customer success manager. And with this, I would like to end. Everyone who has a public holiday tomorrow, which will be most of Europe, enjoy your long weekend. For the others, enjoy the rest of the week, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks very much for attending. Goodbye.